Our last speech before intermission will be Amanda Way, who is a 14-year-old 8th grader at AISG who loves sports, discovering new hobbies, traveling, and building connections, both with people and with the world around her. She will be giving her talk, Pressing Pause, Why It's Okay to Take a Break. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
In the spring of 2025, I had a realization that changed everything. The bravest thing I could do wasn't pulling an all-nighter, wasn't earning another achievement, wasn't being involved with everything. It was the opposite. It was taking a nap. It was prioritizing taking breaks. And it was allowing for time to do absolutely nothing. The bravest thing I could do was to press pause. Daring to bend is something we can do as a response to so many factors in our lives. We can bend traditions, perceptions, and expectations of others. But I discovered that, in most cases, the hardest, most difficult barrier that I had to bend was the one I imposed on myself. And it's not just me that feels this. According to Mental Health Foundation, 60% of young people have felt so stressed by the pressure to cope that they felt overwhelmed or unable to cope at all. This is a big deal because it shows that people like us students set themselves such tight expectations and goals that when it feels like those goals aren't being fulfilled, they turn to one of two extremes. They either put the blame fully on themselves, draining themselves harder, or they give up on those goals completely and abandon their aspirations. Neither of these are ideal for anyone. This is because we, as students, are constantly exposed to a society where mental health isn't talked about enough, where grades and awards take the spotlight. This system, therefore, creates a generation of excelling but also exhausted students, an exhaustion that no one truly sees. The spring of 2025, a few months to the end of 7th grade, was the moment when that exhaustion truly got to me. It was late that night, a time when I was already supposed to be sleeping, but I was awake, refining an assignment. I was already accustomed to the far more hectic schedule of secondary school by then, but it felt as though my schoolwork, alongside the amount of extracurricular work I had, skyrocketed then, and I was having trouble balancing everything. I had so much I wanted to get done, so many goals I wanted to achieve, so much pressure I placed on myself, and such a desire to finish the year on high that I completely forgot about me as a person. I remember reaching the middle of an important assignment that night and getting tired to the point where I genuinely couldn't read the next question. I tried pushing myself, tried telling myself that future me would thank myself now for doing this. But then I stopped. And I remember asking myself, would I actually? Because yes, I was getting all of my work done and reviewing information that allowed me to better understand class material. But was my physical and mental state genuinely thanking me for putting it through this much exhaustion without the idea of a rest? And I realized the answer was no. That's when I recognized that I had to do something about it, that I needed to take a step back and attempt to read the signs my body was trying to tell me. So, for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to truly pause and feel. I felt the droopiness of my eyelids, the ache in my head, the knot in my shoulders, and the stiffness of my fingers. And as I let my body truly talk to me, I had a profound realization. My life wasn't even on play anymore. It was on repeat of the same song: achieve, prove, and do it all over again. It was like a tune that was composed by every external expectation I'd ever internalized. And this feeling of mine, this idea that I just shared, isn't unique. In fact, it even has a name: burnout. Burnout isn't personal failure. It's the result of being confined in such a tight rulebook that teaches us that strength is the equivalent to relentless push. But in that moment, as I sat in silence in my room, I wasn't sure if that really was the case. So I decided to do something then that felt terrifying. I broke a rule that I'd set for myself. This was my bend. I pressed pause, and it started the following weekend. I didn't get any homework done, I didn't study for any tests, and I didn't even plan out anything that I would do. Instead, I went on a walk in a nearby park, a place I hadn't appreciated in years. I rewatched some of my old comfort movies. I did a deep cleaning of my room, and I finished a book that I'd forgotten about. In a world that is constantly trying to gain our attention, we often don't take time to listen to our own heart. I used to be so preoccupied over everything I wanted to do that I forgot about the little things that actually made me happy. I'd always felt like I needed to push through the tiredness, and that caused my ability to feel the signals my body was trying to send me to weaken. But my pause provided me with the time I needed to relearn how to listen to myself. Without the noise of what I should be doing, I could finally hear what I wanted to be doing. Memories resurfaced, and curiosity started to bloom again. I believed that strength was grinding, pushing myself, even when I didn't want to be pushed. But my pause taught me that true strength is having the wisdom to know when to stop and when to heal. That we can pause soon led to many others, and as time progressed, they started to become more and more natural, and longer and more appreciated. Through them, I began to validate myself, not for what I accomplished, but for who I was becoming. I found validation in the version of me that was curious, the one who found a cooking tutorial on YouTube and tried to replicate it with my mom, the one who got excited over the most random thing. That curiosity wasn't exactly productive, but it made me feel engaged and excited. I found validation in the version of me that was calm, the one who could sit outside and watch the sunset without getting distracted, the one who felt the anxiety of an approaching deadline and took deep breaths instead of worrying. That calm didn't help me complete my to-do list, but it made me feel like I could handle what was on it. I found validation in the version of me that was connected, the one who folded origami boats with my grandparents, the one who could listen to my friends' stories for hours, the one who always stopped to look at the flowers in parks. That connectedness made me value and appreciate all the little things around me. When my self-worth was tied to my achievements, it was fragile. One bad grade, one bad practice, or one rejection could easily shatter it. But when my worth started being tied to my curiosity, my peace, and the person I was inside, it became stable. Those moments of pause, those moments of silence allowed me to realize the worth that was already in me, allowing me to make choices from a place of interest, not fear. In my pause, I wasn't just feeling better, I was thinking clearer. And I learned that there's actually a proven network in our brains that backs this up. It's called the default mode network, and it is a system that shows increased activity when a person is not focused on everything happening around them. It integrates the information we cram in from doodling, daydreaming, or just walking, and it solves problems subconsciously. It is the same network that causes us to suddenly think of a solution to a problem that we've been stuck on for hours, while doing something completely irrelevant to it. This means that the pressure to never stop and the barrier that I felt like I couldn't bend not only harmed my well-being, but is also a terrible strategy to achieve success. By not normalizing breaks, I was denying my brain the pauses it needs to spark creativity and deepen its learning. I'm not here to tell everyone to quit, but rather to share what redefining productivity looked like for me. It meant daring to bend my daily rules. When I first came back from my pause, I decided to bend 3 rules that I had formerly set. Firstly, I bet my no breaks rule. Between each study session, I took 5 minutes to just look outside and relax. Secondly, I bet my yes rule. If there was something I didn't feel like doing that week, I said no to it to protect my time and my peace. And lastly, I bet my productivity rule. I found a way to spend time on an old hobby with not to accomplish anything, but simply because it was something fun to do. These three things certainly did not get me higher grades on assignments or tests, but they certainly got me through the week with a little more peace and joy. And over time, I found that to be far more important. The bravest spend is an internal one. We are constantly, without even noticing, setting ourselves barriers that force us into doing things that the world around us believes to be productive. But yet, what I learned in early 2025 during my pause is that the very act of pausing is a powerful bend. It reminds us of the value that our value is not tied with our achievements, but rather who we are when it's quiet. So, the world will always tell us to go faster. But the bravest bend we can make is not against other people, but against our own pressure within. To give ourselves permission to rest, reset, and hear our own voice again. Because that very voice, the voice that is revealed to us in the quiet, is the one that will truly change things. Thank you.